How can I help my child become more responsible? Great question. And I'm going to give you some ideas because I think the way we parent changes if we have a target of responsibility in our children. And let me help you understand this because in your life, if you're being responsible, you see cues. And those cues that you see tell you to do something. Sometimes the cue is the clock or the to-do list or the calendar. And when you have those things, they remind you, oh, I need to start moving here, or I need to get this done. And those cues then are something we want to help children with in their lives. Do you know what the cue is for most children? It's their parents. In the morning when a child's getting ready, what is the cue for your child to get off the tablet and start getting dressed in the morning or to get their backpack ready for the day? It's often the parent telling them what to do. The child's relying on the parent as the cue. You can change the whole morning time by helping children have their own cues, by helping a child develop with them a to-do list and to watch the clock. And so now you parent differently. You're saying it's 5 after 7, or you're saying, bring me your to-do list. You're helping children draw attention to the cues, and the cues help them to be more responsible. One of my favorite stories is this family that came in, a 14-year-old boy. He comes into my office and I said to him, do you know why you're here? And he said, yeah, I want more privileges. My parents won't give me any privileges. I said, okay, you've come to the right place. I train parents. And so we can train your parents. Would you like that? And he says, yes. I said, okay. Let me ask you, what kinds of things do you do around the house that are contributing to your home, like chores or something? He couldn't think of anything for a while, but eventually he realized that his job is to take the recycling from the inside of the house to the outside of the house. And so I said to him, what is the cue that helps you know when it's time to take the recycling from the inside of the house to the outside of the house? What do you think he said? My mom tells me. That's right. So I turned to mom and dad who were there in the room because I always counsel with children with their parents there because I believe parents are the best counselors for their children. I'm just supporting them. So I said, Mom, how do you know when it's time to tell your son to take the recycling from the inside of the house to the outside of the house? What do you think she says? It's overflowing. That's right. I said, okay. I said to the man, I said to the young guy, here's what you want to do. You want to have a cue that's earlier than your mom. Maybe you'll do it when it's 3/4 full. And so I sent them away that week to work on it, and they came back. Mom says, I didn't have to tell him one time to take out the recycling. The boy was beaming, and I said, let me explain to you something. If you'll be responsible in 4 areas, home, school, work, and church, then you will do great, and your parents would want to give you more privileges. We defined what all of those look like for him. He doesn't work, but he does contribute, and he can contribute. And then he said, let's ask your mom and dad this. Mom and dad, if you saw that your son was doing well at home, school, church, and work, would you be willing to give him more privileges? They said, definitely. I say, here, we've done it. We've trained your parents. And so the point here is that there are cues that our children need, and when parents parent differently, those cues become more obvious to children. One dad said, we got a dog for our 10-year-old. If he would take care of it, but I have to tell him to take the dog out to do his business all the time. He does it, but I wish he would see it himself. So I said, well, what's the cue? Maybe it's like 8 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something. He says, no, the dog goes to the door and whines. I said, oh, that's a great cue. You just have to parent differently. Now you want to say, I hear something. Where's the dog? So what you're doing is you're drawing attention to the cues. If we draw attention to the cues and move ourselves out of that space, then our children are connected with the cues and they can become more responsible. Try this and you will see responsibility develop in your own child. I really like when we get our kids looking around and seeing these things. It reminds me of the proverb in Proverbs 6:6-8. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provision in summer and gathers its food at harvest. It sees what needs to be done and does it. It knows what the cues are. Children can do the same thing.